Rosie Speaks. Today, I have two people that I've literally never met before in my life, ever. And I'm so excited to have that because I'm not, like, not to brag, but I'm going to brag. I don't really, like, I know a lot of people. So it's super exciting to me whenever I get to meet new people because it's just like, shit, there's people that I don't know. That's the best. So I'm going to ask you questions and I'm going to get to know you and all of our friends are going to get to know you. And it's going to be very exciting. So I got Ferro Mori and Asakura Shiro here. Hi. Thank you guys for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
How have you guys been?
Not too bad, all things considered.
Yeah.
You know.
That's good. You know, I mean, as good as you can be when we're all stuck, you know, in quarantine.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So let me tell you the story of how we came here today. So Her Highness Sarah, who is a very good friend of mine, I started doing this show back in like April or something like that, or the beginning of May. And one night, like towards the end of May, I, for whatever reason, just like couldn't sleep. And I discovered that if I had like, I discovered the exact number of shows I needed to have before I could have shows for the rest of the year. And I needed like 15 more pairings, and you guys got brought in because of your personas, and because I am very excited to learn about your guys' personas. And Her Highness Sarah tells me, okay, well, these people you're going to interview, and it was you guys, it was Odd and Jane, the Reborn, it was Duke Sean, it was Her Majesty Vera, and it was Mistress Maggie Grimm. And she was just like, we're gonna do these people now also. And I'm like, yes. I'm very excited about that. So that's how you guys came to be. So there's my little story. Thank you for coming, I guess, is what I'm saying. I'm very excited. So ready for your first question?
All right, let's do it.
How did you guys find the SEA?
So there's a couple that lives actually pretty close to us now from where we've moved. In SCA, it's Godric of Castlemont and
Rosario de la Torre.
And they were basically just trying to recruit while we were in college, and they came out to, there was a club at the local university called Game Theory, where basically a bunch of us nerds would meet up and play board games or card games. So they would show up with like swords and stuff, be like, hey, who thinks this is cool? And I was like, me. Hi, what are we doing? I get to hit people with this? Oh yes, sign me up. At the time, I actually pretty much only attended fighter practices. I didn't go to like real events until some number of years later. We actually moved away from the city. We went like up to Seattle for a while after we graduated, try and find work, and then ended up coming back to this area in San Luis Obispo and reconnected. And again, it was Godric and Rosie who were trying to start up fighter practices and reached out to us and went, oh yeah, this thing's really fun. I haven't had a chance to do this in a while. And then maybe about a year or so of doing fighter practices again, we started going to, you know, real like kingdom level events and stuff like that, and kind of got seriously involved this time around, and we've been having a blast.
Yeah.
I love that. That's like a fairy tale finding it. I love that. Like my favorite stories are the ones where, oh, we were doing this completely different nerd thing, and then some of my nerd friends brought in this other nerd thing, and now I can hit people with sticks. That's absolutely my favorite path of story. So, Asakura, did you have the same, did you guys was it a together thing always?
I think he met Godric and Rosie, I think a couple times at first, and then I started trying to get into it. I remember we went to an armor night out at their house, and I tried to fight with him and a couple of friends, and I liked the idea of it at the time, but at the same time I was frustrated on like how the fighting worked, and I didn't like getting hit, so it took me a while to like actually want to fight. So I actually wasn't super involved when he was involved with it at first, but when we came back and he got into armor, I think the first practice, and Rosie was like, oh, you know, do you want to fight too, Lauren? And I was like, sure. So I started trying to fight as well, and I really got into it. So by the time we got back here was really when I got into it.
That's amazing. I love that. I love, firstly, to those people who are supportive of you guys getting into armor and coming back and getting back into armor, those are the best people. I love them. I don't know who they are, but I love them. I know here in our local barony down here in Kaid, we are really very much of just like, oh, you want to do the thing? Here's like all of the options for all the things that you can do. What would you like? And so to hear that that's the same kind of thing happening up in your guys' barony of Charm Mist, I love that. I love the whole inter-kingdom culture and the little differences, and oh, that's just so good. And speaking of Charm Mist, Her Highness Sarah tells me that, okay, so firstly, I don't know shit about like the actual like geography of the West, so just pretend like I know what I'm talking about and it'll be fine. Her Highness Sarah tells me that the barony of Charm Mist is not part of the principalities, but is just a barony of its own self in the West. Is that true?
Yep.
What's that like?
I think the answer that you get for that question would be different depending on which Tarn Mist resident you asked. I say that because I'm aware of, just kind of from, not in any level of real detail, but kind of from hearing comments and stuff from more senior members of the barony who've been active longer, that the barony has, you know, a very long, storied history. And I think to a certain extent, there's some pride in that too, you know, like we are our own thing kind of deal. But from a more almost newbie perspective, somebody who hasn't been around very long, hasn't got to, you know, take part in that history and witness it to very much, it mostly means things like I have to reach out to Her Highness and ask for permission to enter her coronet lists, because since I'm not actually part of the principality, it is not a right for me to participate. So it's a little weird in that sense, I think for us and probably for some of the other younger members of the barony. And there have been talks back and forth about whether or not the barony should remain part of, we call the unincorporated areas of the West the Marches, basically. So whether or not it should remain part of the Marches or if it should try to join probably the Mists, that's the essentially adjacent principality. But when I was brand new, I was super confused to find out that Tarn Mist was not part of the Mists. So there's definitely some confusion going on there, especially for those you know, newer members.
Oh my.
To add.
Yeah, I think I know I've heard that it would probably be beneficial if we were part of the Mist just to get more royalty presence. We have been able to host them, the royals, the past couple years at a couple events, but if we had that connection, I think it would be maybe easier access. So yeah, that can be a bit difficult, getting the kind of more presence and help, just because we are at the like very southern tip of the kingdom and very far away.
I was just about to say, so in Kaid, we don't have any principalities. So we are all, so it's kingdom, baronies, shires, whatever. Kingdoms, baronies, and shires are basically our hierarchy. And some baronies will have cantons, which are smaller groups within the baronies. But it's very interesting to talk about the differences in culture, especially when it comes to like the Kingdom of the West, where you guys have the marches, which is the unincorporated areas. And then you have your principalities. Oh, my puppy's about to come outside and it's gonna be crazy town. Hi, baby. Are you cool? Are you gonna pee? Nope, you peed on. Cool, you didn't pee on me. We're good. Great. Hi. Hi. Are you okay? Okay, cool. I was really worried he was gonna pee on me. So what was I talking about? Oh, Kaid. So, but we have that same sort of concern about, I guess, royal presence in certain areas. So we have a shire. I think it's the Shire of the Isles that butts up against Tarnmist. So they share a border with you, and it is a small shire up in the Santa Barbara-ish area, and I have heard that it used to be hard to get people to come out there. So the way that we have started to like work our events is to like get the different events to be hosted in the different baronies or shires or whatever, so that those people who are in the northernmost reaches of our kingdom, or in the southernmost reaches of our kingdom, which usually isn't a problem because half of our kingdom lives in San Diego. The lack of royal presence, it's known, and I didn't even know that. In my brain, I guess I didn't connect the fact that the marches were the unincorporated area. Like, I got that. Like, I knew that they weren't part of the principalities, but I didn't, because I'm not a resident of the West, it didn't even occur to me that people in the unincorporated areas might feel like a lack of a royal presence. Is that sort of what I am hearing from you guys?
I don't necessarily know that I feel like I can speak for the entirety of the marches on that, but I feel like there are some folks who think that Tarnmist would definitely get more royal presence if it joined the Mists. And personally, not sure that I have the level of experience in the SEA to have a particular opinion on whether or not that's true, but I can confirm that the sentiment exists.
I want you to know that you play in the SEA, so your opinion matters. Whether you've been doing it for 6 months or 70 years or 55 years or however old the SEA is now, it matters nonetheless. And that actually was gonna look at you, like making my transition so seamless that I don't have to like think about it. I love it. I want to know. Okay. I am a young person in the SEA. However, I have been in the SEA for more than 2 decades, so I don't feel like I can count as a young person. However, I know that there is a dichotomy of people who maybe don't know who I am, but just see me as, oh, she's a young person, so we don't have to listen to her. And I've been dismissed several times. I want to know what your guys' experiences have been being young and new, as you guys have said, in the SEA.
Do you want to start?
No, you can start. What do you think?
I think I don't know that I've tried to push for very much, because I kind of want to figure out how things work. And well, one thing I can definitely say is that there's a lot of things that are not explained very well. There's so many little things. One of my favorite examples is our first real event. It was a local event. It was a Protectorate tournament here in Tarnmist. It was the first real event that either of us had ever gone to. Protectorate is an event where it's sometimes called like a hats off event, because we have whoever won the tournament last year that has been the protector for the past year, and their consort are usually the lord and lady of the event. And they're kind of like the highest ranking people at this specific event, is more or less how it goes. And none of that was explained to me, especially not because it was the first real event we'd ever gone to. So Shiro and I got called up in, I think, opening court. And I don't even remember what exactly we were supposed to be doing in the opening court, other than, come up and kneel on the pillows kind of thing. But the Baron and Baroness of Tarnmist were also there, and we knew they were the Baron and Baroness, and okay, so we figured we're supposed to kneel in front of them, but it's not their court, it's the Protector's court. And the the Baron looks at me and goes, "It's their thing, scoot over." I'm like, okay. I just think there's been kind of numerous examples of things like that happening, where stuff just wasn't explained in the level of detail that it needed to be, because too many people have been doing this for so long that they have so many little bits of knowledge and background and context for things that they can't remember everything that needs to be explained to somebody who's coming into it brand new. And it's not, nobody does it on purpose. It just kind of happens intrinsically by nature of the situation. It's hard to remember everything that needs to be explained to a newbie.
I have to tell you that is so painfully true. I cannot explain it. And I am absolutely 100% like I've absolutely done that, where I've been doing this for so long that I'm just like, oh, I just do this thing. So for me especially, it's bad because not only have I been doing it for so long, but I literally was raised to do this.
Right.
Like, my parents have been doing this since the early 90s and late 80s or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was there for that whole time. So it's really funny to me, and it's so true. So, like, at least for me, I am super aware of it, and I always feel so bad because, like, I know that there are people who are new who just, like, don't know it, but also I feel like we don't know what to tell you. Like, what information? Yeah. I think I'm intimidated to be like, would you like me to vomit 2 decades of information at your face right now? Because I can do that, but I don't know what you want to know. I don't know what you're interested in. So, like, it goes both ways. Because I'm just sitting here, I'm just like, I have so much information that you want to know, but also I don't want you to be overwhelmed, because 2 decades of information is so much.
Yeah. It's hard to find that sweet spot between giving somebody enough information that they understand what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to act, without giving them information overload. If you actually were to vomit that 2 decades of information on me, none of it would stick. It'd be like throwing dough at a wall, and most of it would just fall on the ground. So it'd be the same results. There's this really tricky to hit sweet spot. It is genuinely difficult to get that. So I totally understand why it happens, but it has gotten me multiple times as a newbie trying to learn. And I feel like partly because of that, but also partly because there's especially in, court situations and stuff, there's a lot of formalities. There's organizational structure and stuff like that is also not always explained to newbies up front. Who makes decisions other than, for example, like the king and the queen, who has power over laws and stuff like that. I frankly probably still don't know the answer to half of those things. So that makes me hesitant to, try and be like, oh, we should change this, that, or the other, because I don't know enough to say we should or shouldn't change it. So I don't know that I've experienced somebody trying to really like shush me or be like, oh no, you're too young, like don't, because I haven't really spoken up a lot. Like, oh, I have strong opinions. I've been like, I'm gonna sit here and learn for probably like a couple years and try to make sure that I actually understand how this all works before I start getting noisy.
I mean, that's like the greatest thing ever, because that's what I did. Well, okay, hold on. Let me backtrack, because what you're doing is very different than what I did. I thought I knew everything, and then I realized I didn't, so I had to relearn everything. And the sitting back and the just like watching, dude, you learn so much stuff. You just like sit in the corner and you just like ingratiate yourself like tertiary to everything. You're just like, oh, I'm not listening to anything that's happening here. I don't know, just I don't exist. I'm just absorbing information. It's really crazy. But I am really glad that you have not had that experience of like people who are dismissive to you for being new or being young. That's honestly the best thing I've heard today, because it has been an issue that I have had people come to me with, and I'm really happy to hear that it is not as common as I thought it was. So that's amazing. What about you?
I think there's some really awesome people in our barony that are really excited to get anyone new involved. I think, unfortunately, it kind of comes in, that kind of attitude can kind of come in waves depending on how busy people are. But I know Godric and Rosie have always really tried to get people involved, and like, you're interested in something, like, let me figure out how to get you connected to that. So I think that's part of our culture in our barony in particular that I think has helped us really thrive. And I know personally, I remember those kind of, I don't know if I guess faux pas or like awkward moments. Yeah. And I try to like think about what it was I wish I would have known at those times. And when I was a shadow lane for probably about a year, I did my best when we had new people to be like, okay, what was so uncomfortable in those moments, or what do I wish I would have known? So then when I would like send a message to a newbie being like, hey, if you want to go to this event, I can get you hooked up with a tunic, and you can just wear like these types of pants if you have them or something. Because I know for me, like, not having a suitable like garb would make me feel so awkward, So I tried to like make sure, like, okay, what are my experiences that I wish I could have fixed? And I do agree that there's so much that goes into it, and it's hard to really explain everything. But I try to think of like the basics of like, okay, what would be like the most awkward thing that could happen, or like what was the most painful experience I had, But yeah.
No, that's exactly it. It's what has happened to, if you took what happened to you as a newbie, or what happened to you now, or what happened to your friends, and you're just like, well, how can we not do that? Yeah. Like, what can we do to make that not be the result? Because that was not great. And I love that that's what you do. Also, side note, you guys say that you're newbies, but you've held an office? I'm gonna squint at you.
Harvest is small.
So, okay. So, have you guys ever been to Great Western War?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have been the volunteer steward for that war for the past 3 years. So you can't argue with me about volunteering, because the second you help at all, you're a volunteer in my eyes. So I'm sorry, I don't know if you can be new. I don't care that Tarmus is small. You've held an office. You gotta be careful, because that is amazing. I love that. How long have you been back playing in the SEA before you started doing the Shadowlane stuff for Tarmus?
I don't think it was that long. It was just like really a few months, if I recall correctly. Maybe a little bit longer, maybe like 6 months.
Yeah, I want to say about 6 months probably before you wound up Shadowlane.
Yeah, and then I did that for a year, and then now I've been Baronial Marshal, which more my thing.
So now you've held 2 offices. Yeah. So I just have to tell you, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for doing service to your barony, and don't discredit yourself. Those things that you're doing, you're helping people who probably did it in Tarnmus for 100 years. So I know that those people, that your predecessors are so fucking grateful for you, that I'm gonna just loudly say it on the internet right now. Not on their behalf, but from the position of somebody who's tried to host a 3,000 plus hour volunteer thing. You're a magical human for whatever it is that you've done, and I appreciate you, even though I don't know who you are. Okay. Well, now that I have just like completely derailed everything and just talked about how great you are for doing volunteering stuff, I need to know about your personas. I hear that they are not European.
I'm not European.
She's not European.
Yeah.
She's
Tell
probably
me
mostly
about
the
it.
one you want to talk about that definitely done the most work on her persona.
Yeah.
Okay, I want literally tell me everything. Go.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so I am a Japanese persona, roughly between like the 14th and 16th century. There's a lot of information. So I kind of go between male and female garb depending on how I'm feeling. I really like basic kasode, what I'm wearing right now, because they're very easy and pretty light. I make most of my stuff out of linen, but I also like the kind of traditionally Japanese samurai type look. So that's why I do like to try to make some of the men's garb as well. It's pretty fun, especially when I'm like on a Queen's Guard and I get to stick my katana in my obi, which my belt. Yeah, I've always really liked Japanese culture ever since I was probably like a teenager. I am such a nerd and really liked anime. And there's actually one particular anime that got me into thinking about, oh, when I joined the SCA, like maybe I could do feudal Japan because of this particular anime. And I actually used part of that anime in my device. I have a Japanese well frame, and then it's encircled by an amulet. So yeah, I'm such a nerd, but I love it. And yeah, it's great. It's super amazing having somebody like our Laurel Sayonji Nohana, because she has this amazing site where she details exactly how to do a kasode, and anyone can learn how to do it. And what I love about Japanese garb is it's pretty much like all rectangles. So it's super simple, just like straight, sewing. Occasionally you have to hand sew some stuff with the collar. It gets a little bit tricky, but really it's so much easier than European garb. And yeah, it's been a blast. Like there are several other Japanese personas in the Kingdom of the West. There's actually like a clan. They're all amazing people, and I love them. And it's just so fun, like meeting up with them at events, and they're like, "Oh, like look at your garb! Like, oh yeah, your kit looks awesome." I have a friend who's also like a kind of purple samurai kit as well, and sometimes we get confused with each other. People are like, "Oh, were you that one?" She's like, "No, that was."
Sorry, hold on. I have to interrupt you. Did you just say that you have a purple samurai kit?
Yeah, it's like purple, black, and white. It's
I
pretty
feel
good.
like you're gonna have to send me pictures, and that I'm gonna have to like put them over this thing right now because I need to share it with the entire universe. Purple is my favorite, and I fucking love it when there are different flavors of armor in the lists. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I do not see samurai kits out here in Kaid very often. I do not want to say that they do not exist, because I am hella busy all the time and I do not always watch everything. So I'm sure, I know that there are different Asian personas out here. However, I don't know if any of them actually have a full-blown kit. But yours is purple, and that's my favorite color. So I definitely needed to share everything in the world. Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting. Tell me more about your purple samurai kit twin.
Okay. So I made it mostly out of HDPE plastic and some barrel plastic that's like pretty much all black. but from afar it looks really good. I use purple and white laces, and it took me quite a bit of time, but it is super protective, other than the arm protection that I had to redo because I broke my arm last was it October?
Oh
Thinking about that.
no! What did you say? I
I
missed
said
you.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay, now I feel like I need to know what happened.
You want me to tell you? You want to tell it?
I may have been on the other end of the sword that broke her arm.
Oh no! Oh, my heart. I'm sure. Oh,
Yeah, that wasn't fun. To be fair, I was not wearing great forearm protection, and we were fighting, and I kind of panicked, and instead of leaving like my arm up, I used 2 sticks, and like letting him just hit me in the ribs or bringing my arm down fast enough, I kind of went in between and kind of did one of these and just put my arm right in the path of his sword. So yeah.
So,
owie.
as a 2-stick fighter, you're pretty likely to get hit in the arm at some point. And she kind of beefed up her forearm protection quite a bit to compensate for getting hit in the arm too much when she was newer. And as she started to get better at blocking, started getting hit in the arm less, how cumbersome that armor was started to become more annoying than it felt like it was helpful, because she wasn't getting hit in the arm very often. So there was just one particular day where she was like, I think I'm fine. I haven't been hit in the arm in like months. I'm not going to wear this today. And I didn't know that, because the big Japanese samurai kit, it has full sleeves. So the plastic plates under it are gone, but I can't see that they're gone. I'm left-handed, and I have a shot where I kind of pump high, like I'm going to like throw a flat snap towards your head, but then drop low and hit you in the torso, which I don't hit excessively, but I also don't hit light, that's for sure. And yeah, so when she tried to block with her right arm and kind of just pulled it straight down, it put this part of the forearm like directly perpendicular to a solid lefty shot that was aimed at a very armored part of her body.
Yeah.
And it correct.
Yep.
So
Oh,
wear
that's
your
okay.
forearm
Okay.
protection, folks.
Yes.
I think if I remember correctly, it's required in your kingdom, but technically forearm protection is optional in the West.
Is it really? I thought
Don't
that
ask
they
me
changed
why.
that. I think that they changed that in Corpora last year after
Did they
the wrist shatter at Estrella. But don't quote me. I'm pretty sure forearm protection is required in all kingdoms, unless you have
if
a
that was recently changed, I may have missed it.
Yeah.
But historically, what I was told was that it wasn't technically a requirement in the West.
that also might be true. I'm gonna go ahead and text Helga right now and find out. Cause
Cool.
holy Jesus.
We no longer consider it optional for our, personal use.
I do
now,
not
obvious
blame
reasons.
you at all.
Yeah.
What? So ow. Yeah, no, it is absolutely required in my kingdom, but I don't know about your kingdom, and but ow pain. Accidents happen. But yeah, no, I feel you. Jesus. Woo! Yeah. I have been an armored marshal for holy Jesus 5 years now. 4 years now. However long our martial cards last. It's really hard to keep track. And the whole different kit thing and the different armor protection, yes, it is hard to keep track of the different kingdoms' rules. I had that experience when I went to West Frontier last year. It was my first time at an out-of-kingdom event being a martially human. I forgot that different kingdoms have different rules. So that's a fair point. Okay, so we've talked about your purple armor kit and the ow pain of accidentally breaking yourself. But Ferro, tell me about your persona.
So in contrast to, this amazingly detailed and well-researched persona, I picked my name primarily because it translates to Iron Death, and I thought that was funny.
That is
Technically, I am
hilarious.
a 13th century Italian. Was intended to be a crusader, but because it's a later period crusade, it's not really obvious. It's not like the Templar kit that you traditionally think of with a crusader, because those are like 1100s. So, yeah.
Okay. So just so you know, in college, I did a whole ass research project on Memento Mori because I was the weird kid in school. And so when you told me your full name, my brain goes, oh, that's really funny. It's gonna have my brain goes, oh, that's like, I can make a joke about death like this, but I'm weird, so I kept that to myself because a lot of the times when I'm just like, haha, I know that has to do with people being dead. People get a little freaked out. So I tried to contain the murderino inside of me because, death sometimes is bad. Sorry,
No, that's very accurate.
My dog's trying to eat something he's not supposed to. Please.
Okay.
Problem solved. I just put him inside.
It's funny that you mentioned Memento Mori, because that is actually why I knew what Mori meant. I went looking to see if I could make a name out of it or something.
That's amazing.
I actually sold on that in my mundane life. I do music as like a hobby, and I actually wrote an entire album that I called Memento Mori about the same time as one of my favorite bands released an album with a song on it called Memento Mori, and like all that kind of stuff. So that, and there's like a super tragic story behind that band too, and how like their main writer had cancer and then beat it, but then it came back and they knew he wasn't going to beat it this time. So they went and wrote that whole album without telling the fans that they were going to lose him. And Memento Mori, the track by that name, was literally his swan song. And he passed, I think, within 3 months or so of the album being released. So there's a bunch of that stuff also associated with the name for sure. I matched it up with Iron for Iron Death instead of trying to make it dramatic, as sort of like a juxtaposition. Yes, it's a reference to the very serious theme of Memento Mori, but also I'm death metal.
Everything about that makes me so happy, and the Lamb of God reference is just perfect, and I love everything about that. So that's amazing. Also, you are right. Forearm protection is not required in the West. So ow. That's hilarious. Do you guys have to bring forearm protection to Great West? Or do you guys get inspected by Westie Marshals?
I think usually at wars we get inspected by Western Marshals.
Okay.
But I've always worn forearm protection anyway, because as we've established, it really shouldn't be an optional thing in our opinion. So I've never specifically encountered whether or not it is required for us to wear at foreign wars.
Yeah,
I don't know either.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just that we've been inspected by Western Marshals. So
I think it's to your kingdom specification, but I also think it depends on who's running martial combat at that time, because some people are very specific about their rules. So, okay, what questions have I? Okay, so I have 2 more questions. First, the next question is, so I've gathered from our conversation that you guys are both heaviest fighters. Correct? So my next question to you guys is there has to be, what else do you guys do? Asakura was talking about making her clothes and sewing and doing all those things. And she's done all this research into her persona. What else do you guys do? What do you guys like to do in the SEA?
Somewhat recently, I've taken up weaving. I actually, can you show the belt?
I can, if you give me a second.
Okay. So I've taken up weaving. I haven't done a ton of projects yet, but that the like kind of card weaving stuff has been interesting to me. So I made that as a belt he can wear on the field as kind of a favor. And I've also, what else have I done? I've done a lot of a little bit of everything. I feel like I started doing some leather carving stuff. My knight taught me how to do pierce and saw work. So I made like a belt buckle with his device on it. I still have to give him that, but I keep meaning to make a belt for him, and I just have so many projects that they just kind of get put on the back burner, like, oh yeah, I'll get to that. And I'm like, oh, but that would be cool. No, wait, what if I did this? You know, so it's kind of like one of those eventual gifts that I still am mulling over in my head. Yeah, I did a little bit of fabric stamping. I've been meaning to get more into that. One of the knights that lives here now that used to be in Kaid, Sir William Olfson, he's really into the fabric stamping, and he's given me some tips. So I want to get into that. We've been doing...
Just real quick, Liam has all of the best tools to teach you how to do that, because his or my dear friend who was his late partner, Baroness Asa, also I knew her as Roxanne just because we were really good friends, has all the tools from Roxanne. So I'm so happy that he's still talking about all the art that she taught him. It was so good.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
You're good. I think, is there anything else that I'm reading? Yeah, I do a lot of, I sew both my garb and his garb. I think it's, oh, I started doing some, looking into a little bit of Japanese calligraphy, but I haven't like fully dived into that. I made this scroll for Countess Alice when I was on her Queen's Guard, so that was fun. So yeah, kind of a little bit of everything.
Sorry, real quick, I'm pretty sure Countess Alice talks about you and your scroll in the episode that I recorded with her, just so you know.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
We'll
have to go find that one after this.
Yep.
It's not out yet, but I'll show.
Oh,
But
okay.
I'll make sure to send it. I'll send it when it is out.
Awesome.
So sounds like you're a busy bee.
Yeah. Lots of
Sounds like you do some stuff, just like one or two things, like nothing, no big deal. You can just weave and sew and fight and marshal, and you volunteer, and you're on Queen's Guard. We should be friends.
It's
gonna be great. We're gonna be friends. It's awesome.
That's good.
All right, Ferro, tell me, what do you like to do in the SEA?
I've been picking up things a little bit more slowly than Shiro. She's very multi-interest. Like, but when it comes to her and learning things and hobbies and stuff, it's almost like, ooh, piece of candy. And the SEA has played really nicely into that, because you can do that and stay in the same hobby the whole time. I don't quite scatter as much, and I've kind of waited for things to pop up where I go like, ooh, this looks really cool. Like, I want to seriously learn this. And then I spend like a week researching the heck out of it and trying to understand what I'm doing and try to learn it deeply. So I don't have like nearly as long of a list, but I have started to pick up some things other than fighting. I think the first one was, colloquially, it's often called Viking knit, but I think the more period appropriate term is trichinopoly chain or weaving.
Don't know what that means at all. Those are fancy ass words. You do art shit? It's amazing. Go ahead, tell me more.
You weave wires together, basically, or more accurately, you weave a wire in a certain way, and you can make like necklaces. Is this going to work at all? You can make like necklaces and bracelets and stuff out of it.
Okay, so yeah, I'm familiar. I didn't know it had a fancy name. I just call it wire weaving because I'm really simple like that.
Yep, wire weaving. Yep, that works. And this kind of started with quarantine because fighting fighting went away for the most part with quarantine. But I started picking up mead making, brewing. And now we have an entire shelf in the living room full of mead equipment, and like I think I've started 16 brews.
That's incredible.
Since quarantine started. So
I love it. Quarantine breeding creativity. I'm for it. I'm for it.
If it keeps up much longer, the mead will actually be ready by the time we have another.
I know, how sad is that? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, all of that is incredible. And you know what? If you really, I just put you inside. Sorry, my dog. So we have bay windows in our back door, and we have curtains on them. When my dog is mad at me being outside and him being inside, he opens the curtain and presses his forehead with his big ass blue eyes against my window until I let him out. But he can wait the next 10 minutes while we finish up this episode. Silly butthole. Okay, so you guys are the most amazing little duo that I'm everything about this episode is making me really happy. I love talking to people who are new. I love talking to people who I don't know. And I'm sitting here, and you guys are so cute in the beginning, talking about how you guys are really new and how you're not sure. Oh, Helga, stop talking to me. I'm recording. Sorry. I texted Helga, and now I'm getting all of the rules of the West. I love her so fucking much. So I am so excited that Princess Sarah hooked us up, because I love hearing the different experiences, and I love that you guys are so humble, because you came on and you're both talking about being very new and how you're trying to be very respectful of people who've been in Tarmus for a very long time, and I fucking love that. And here you are casually mentioning, oh, I was the Chatelaine, and then I'm also the Marshal. Oh shit, hold on. Give me 2 seconds. I might get disconnected. I have figured it out. So, sorry, I share my paid account is also used for our Baronies like meetings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it popped up that they were having a meeting, and I'm like, no, it's not until noon. Stop it. Okay, so have I talked enough about how I'm so excited that I've met you guys? Okay. I have 2 last questions. Are you ready?
Okay.
Firstly, what's it like being Captain America's squire?
It is fantastic, but those are some big shoes to fill, you know?
Yeah, it's some intimidation factor. Seems like a lot of, you're gonna have to, big shoes to fill, but Leotolf is a magical human. I love him. And that leads me into my last question. Her Highness Sarah tells me that your household that you guys are a part of is one of the most welcoming and has some of the best groups of humans that she's ever met. Tell me about your household.
Well, surely Gillian deserves much of the credit for that. She is absolutely amazing, and just she seems to love taking care of people. She's always trying to get food and drink together, really, that she and Leotolf make available in their pavilion, just set up at so many events. And it's not just like meals. It's there's a day board at virtually every event. You can just walk up and grab like cheese or some meat or something, and especially as a fighter, you walk up and you take a look at this amazing spread and you think, okay, what am I craving right now? Salt, crackers. Yep, there we go.
Yeah. She has it covered.
Yep.
Everything.
And whatever you're running low on from all your fighting that day, you get to refuel right there. real quick, and then of course having the pavilion itself, they've got a huge. I think they also recently got a new one. I don't know if it's got all the poles and stuff put together yet, but it's big, and it's a great place to take shelter from the sun on a hot tournament day. And I wasn't at this Estrella. I think it was Estrella personally, but not the last Estrella, the one before that got rained to heck and back and flooded. Yeah, I apparently like half or more of the West Kingdom was in their pavilion.
I saw pictures.
Trying to take shelter.
I remember.
It's just an amazing amount of care and infrastructure, and yeah.
And everyone's just super welcoming. Like if somebody needs something, they're like, oh, come on in, take a seat, like here's some food. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. And everyone too is just so like willing to teach about anything that they're like into. Like, Leotolf's always trying to get us hooked up with other fighters to teach us better, or he's trying to teach us something, or like Brian's there and he's like a great teacher as well. And like, they're obviously amazing examples of like what it means to serve the kingdom and stuff. So it's just like, you're just surrounded by these like amazing people, and it's so inspiring, And
of course, we cannot forget my spy brother Sam, who is just one of the most helpful people probably on the planet.
Yeah, that guy is so smart. Like, he's always trying to like figure out how to do things better, and he's always like super aware of like people's needs and stuff. It's amazing.
I think I've lost track of how many Queen's Guards he did in a row.
I know people like that. I guess I love them. Again, volunteer steward in the past. I love everybody who does any kind of help. All of them are my friends, and they're magical. And you know what? On that note, you guys are so fun. Thank you for coming on and sharing your morning with me.
Bless. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
I had an amazing time. If you guys ever want to come back and ask me questions, and we can make that happen, because I want there to be less confusion for our newbies. And if you guys have questions that I can answer, or that I can ask other people and they can answer, I'm so about it. Let's answer all the questions. I mean, like you said, we're in quarantine and we can't see anybody. We can't go to events, so now is the time. Ask me all the questions. Let's do it. Okay, again, thank you so much. I had such a good time.
Thank you so much.
And we had a blast, yeah.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. That's my favorite thing to hear. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for coming and watching.